passenger air travel. Number 5. BEDE BD5J. Let's face it, we've all dreamt of having our own personal airplanes to get around in. And the future where this happens can't come fast enough. But the dream has already become a reality for a lucky few. Because in 1971, the BEDE BD5 was introduced to the world by American aircraft designer Jim Beatty. These microplanes were available in kit form, so owners could be able to piece them together themselves, and came with a 70 horsepower engine. They were 13 feet and 7 inches long, had a wingspan of 21 feet and 6 inches, and space inside for just one pilot in a reclinable chair. The planes could reach a top speed of 232 miles per hour with a range of just under 1,000 miles, which meant these aircraft were heralded as the future of personal travel. In the end, though, only 150 were ever made, but 30 of those are thought to still be operational today. One variation of design holds the record for being the lightest single-engine aircraft ever, weighing just 359 pounds, and had the company not gone bankrupt during production of the kits, the world of transport could have been very different than it is today. Number 4. V-22 Osprey. The V-22 Osprey was built by Boeing and Bell Helicopters for the US military and is a tilt-rotor aircraft that can take off and land both vertically or horizontally. Their design is basically a hybrid of traditional aircraft and helicopters. And despite the first flight taking place in 1989, they first entered the military service in 2007, and have since been involved in missions around the world in places such as Iraq, Kuwait, and Afghanistan. They require a crew of 3 or 4 people, but can carry an additional 32 passengers in the rear. They can also carry 20,000 pounds worth of equipment, and even a Growler land vehicle if needed. The craft is 57 feet and 4 inches long, has a wingspan of 45 feet and 10 inches, and has a top speed of 316 miles per hour, with a range of 450 miles. The rotors can conveniently be folded up to make it take far less space on the ground. And as well, being fitted with the latest technology in defense and countermeasures, V-22 Ospreys also come equipped with an M240 machine gun and a GAU-17 minigun. They have been found to be so adaptive that plans are for them to be used in a wider range of missions from 2021, and they may sooner become a regular sight on the battlefields of the future. Number 3. Lockheed SR-71 Blackbird. Developed by Lockheed Martin's Sunk Works division in the 1960s, the SR-71 Blackbird is a high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft that allows the US Air Force to monitor foreign territories with very little chance of being seen. The Blackbird has an operating altitude of 85,000 feet, travels at a cruising speed of Mach 3, and remains the fastest plane ever built that uses air-breathing engines. 32 of them were built, and they were used by the Air Force between 1964 and 1998. None were ever shot down by the enemy because not only did they operate at such high altitudes and speeds, but they also were virtually invisible to radar systems. As a spy aircraft, they were equipped with optical and infrared imaging systems, airborne radar, electronic intelligence gathering systems, and counter-defense systems to evade enemy aircraft. One of the more unusual things about the Blackbird is that it rarely took off with full fuel tanks just in case an engine failed, and also to reduce the pressure exerted on the brakes and tires. This meant that, usually, they would conduct an in-air refueling, typically from a KC-135Q Stratotanker, immediately after takeoff. Number 2. CONCORD. There have only ever been 2 designs of supersonic passenger aircraft to ever go into commercial use, and the Concorde was by far the most famous and successful. They were developed as a collaborative project between the UK and France and were first introduced to paying passengers in 1976. Incredibly, they were able to reach twice the speed of sound, and the fastest it ever made the trip between New York and London was just 2 hours and 52 minutes, a fraction of the time it takes subsonic jets to do. Everything about the Concorde was designed for speed, from the drooping nose that allowed pilots to see out the cockpit in the airport but would raise up to to make it more aerodynamic in the air, to the streamlined fuelage shape that gave relatively little room inside. It could only accommodate up to 128 passengers at a time, and this ultimately would become its downfall. The jets were very expensive to produce and meant that ticket prices were the equivalent of almost $13,000 in today's money. People had to seriously want to save a few hours flight time to travel in this way, and when extra challenges in the airline industry made profit margins tight after 2001, along with several accidents, the Concorde made its final flight in 2003. Number 1. RUTAN VARIEZE. Burt Rutan created the RUTAN VARIEZE as a built-at-home aircraft for hobbyists and those wanting their own personal mode of air transport at a fraction of the cost of larger jets. With a length of 14 feet and 2 inches and a wingspan of 22 feet, there's room inside for 1 pilot and 1 passenger. It can reach a top speed of 195 miles per hour and has a range of 850 miles before needing to refuel. More than 400 of them were built following the first successful flight in 1975, and the company even sold just the plans so customers could source the parts on their own. It was a very popular design, using what's known as the canard formation with the propeller at the rear, and when it's parked on the ground, its nose is used as the front rest, which also makes it easier for the pilot to get into the cockpit. Pioneers like Burt Rutan made aircraft accessible to individual pilots, and have likely paved the way for personal airplanes that we may all be able to use in the near future. Which of these airplanes did you find to be most incredible? And have you ever been lucky enough to fly on one of them yourself? Make sure to let us know in the comments section. Also, check out our other cool stuff showing up on the screen right now. See you next time!